Greetings. Today, the moon continues in nurturing Cancer, where we focus on feelings and healing and attending to our deeper needs. The moon also joins up in the morning with the planet Jupiter, bringing a focus to not only expansion and abundance, but some other things Jupiter is known for that we'll talk about today. And I will also share a little bit more today about the upcoming solar eclipse in Virgo that I shared a little bit about yesterday. We'll talk some more today, specifically about the eclipse and the sun moon opposition to Saturn and Neptune. So lots to unpack here today. I am Marina Orms, here with your Astro Vibe for Tuesday, September 16th. And so, first of all, to talk about today's vibe and the moon in Cancer, where we focus on feelings and healing and how to heal by trusting our feelings, right? That intuitive sense of what we need. So, following our own inner wisdom and our own inner knowing about how to care for ourselves. So that's a place to start in essentially trusting ourselves to know what we need for ourselves, which is, that's a revelation right there, isn't it? But also we have some additional focus on that approach because of the moon's conjunction with Jupiter this morning. And so that will happen uh, around between 5 and 5:30 a.m. Pacific time, with the moon joining Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is known as the planet of expansion and abundance, but there's more to Jupiter, really. Jupiter has to do with also our bigger picture of the paradigm we are in. So that could be our beliefs, our belief systems. It could be whatever guides us in terms of theories and how we understand ourselves and the world around us, right? Whatever it is that gives us that sense of what is true, what is right, what are our guiding principles, how do we think about the world, and so Jupiter as that planet of expansion, but really having that bigger picture of faith, right? Where do you expand into in, when you go beyond the everyday? And so what do you trust in? What do you believe in? What is that bigger container that helps you guide your choices and actions through your bigger picture of understanding of what's important, what brings meaning to your life? And that Jupiter energy in Cancer is asking us to think about the bigger picture of beliefs we have regarding our understanding of caring, of feelings, of healing. And so, what are our beliefs about family? How we care for one another, domestic life, right? And so, thinking about caring in a more expansive way with Jupiter and going beyond this idea that there is a black and white, a right and wrong when it comes to things like, how we care for one another and themes like family values, right? And where, like how we view ourselves in that bigger picture of understanding and what feels important to us, how we organize and create that bigger picture container. So we have choices, right? And Jupiter reminds us that to really expand in how we care for one another, we have to get beyond that black and white way of framing things, that everything fits neatly into a box. If you do this thing, you're doing it right. If you do that thing, you're doing it wrong. And you can see how that can easily be translated into my way is right and your way is wrong, right? So who's to say, right? Who gets to decide the right way and the wrong way to care for one another, to be a family with the people we care about, or how we care for children and one another, and our bigger picture of familial connections, whether that's family of origin, biological family, chosen family, right? Or our bonds of love that we have with other people in so many different ways. So, in other words, when we get beyond that black and white understanding of right and wrong, we can expand into what I think is much more healing and much more powerful. And that is where we are on a process of figuring out, how to solve problems in a way that is helping us grow. So it allows for creativity. It allows for discovery of what is the real healing path, right? There is no black and white, no strict right or wrong about how we should behave. But when we make choices, maybe we discover that, oh, hey, that choice, was not well received, or maybe it didn't work out so great for me or someone else. But how can I be creative in this healing process to understand what went wrong and how to do it differently and how to support myself to do it in a way that's more healthy in the future? You see how different that feels? And that more expansive way of understanding our caring process and how we care for one another gets to be coming from that deeper creative process that allows for new possibilities. It allows us to discover something we didn't know before, right? As opposed to the black and white version of beliefs or understanding or being told how to do things. Because when things are black and white, it's you have to fit into a box. You can't discover a new solution along that healing path. You can't figure out what works for you. You can't solve problems in a relationship that has a true path of discovery and that feeling of, oh wow, we figured out how to do this in a better way. We figured out how to communicate more effectively or show up for one another in ways that are really greater for the greater good, for the greater whole. So there's so much more that could be explored in that arena, but I think today those themes are up as we think about the moon in Cancer and Jupiter in Cancer and Jupiter's influence on the moon and vice versa, where it's really awakening in us a need to expand beyond limiting paradigms, beyond beliefs and ways of understanding things that constrict, that restrict the possibilities, and to instead move into uh, thinking about the healing path as a path of discovery, as a path of problem solving that comes from our own creative capacity to invent or discover something new. So that's what's on my mind. And okay, and then we can look at the upcoming Virgo eclipse. I'm now on day 2 of talking about the Virgo eclipse. I'm going to talk about it every day until we get there because I believe this is such a potent eclipse. And of course, we are following the Pisces lunar eclipse and still processing and integrating what emerged or came into awareness or changed or shifted or in the energies of that Pisces lunar eclipse. So we are just past now the third quarter moon. We are in that finalizing, digesting, integrating part of the moon cycle where we need to integrate what we've been what information is being revealed to us. So we're making meaning out of it. We're understanding, what does this really mean for my life? How do I need to change? How do I see myself differently now that I am going through a change process, perhaps? So we're in the middle of that process as we head into Sunday's September 21st solar eclipse in Virgo at 29 degrees Virgo. So yesterday I talked about that 29 degrees, the significance of the 29-degree Virgo for this eclipse, and how there's a reckoning, there is a pressure of a feeling of a need to get things right, really feeling that last chance dimension of experience. So watch yesterday's video if you missed part one, I guess, installment number one on the 29 degrees and the significance of that part of the zodiac, 29 degrees Virgo. And then today, looking at the opposition. So we have a new moon, which is a conjunction or a coming together of the sun and the moon. That's the definition of a new moon. And the new moon, so both the sun and the moon are opposite another conjunction, which is Saturn in Pisces, 28 degrees, and Neptune in Aries, 0 degrees Aries. So that opposition also really activating some potent energies. So an opposition with two planets on one side, two planets on the other side, Saturn and Neptune opposite sun and moon, and really activating that conjunction, all near exact conjunction of Saturn and Neptune of, they came their closest a few weeks ago, but they're still within a couple of degrees of a conjunction. They will be in an exact conjunction next year. But the point is that those energies come through this eclipse. So we have, first of all, the energy of Saturn in late Pisces, 28 degrees Pisces. That is also a completion part of the zodiac. So Virgo and Pisces, each one is the finishing of those 6 signs. So in the case of Virgo, it's the finishing of Aries through Virgo. In the case of Pisces, it's the finishing of Libra through Pisces. So both signs are endings. Both signs have the energy of completion, of getting something right, of feeling that pressure to release what baggage we don't want to bring with us into the future. Like, time to put it down, because it does not, we don't have the time or the energy to carry some of that stuff with us. So what is it you need to put down, leave behind, do your grieving around, perhaps, if necessary, to release that, something that you have been carrying with you that is not going with you into the future. Just like if you're moving, you go through your stuff, right? And you go, okay, that's not going with me. Maybe I've had it a long time. Maybe it served me well in the past, but it doesn't belong where I'm going. So those are the kinds of questions we want to ask symbolically and metaphorically about what it is in our psyches that we don't need with us where we're going, and it will just drag us down if we try to take it with us. So there's that release. There is that letting go experience. Saturn in Pisces and conjunct Neptune. Saturn is saying, there is a dream, right? The promise of that rebirth that happens in Aries. With Virgo, it's the promise of the next phase that goes in early Libra. So the promise of, being able to share in that place of partnership, of being seen by another person, of engaging in doing things cooperatively, collaboratively. So that's the promise of Virgo, where you're heading in Libra. The promise of Pisces, and where you're heading in Aries, is that rebirth of the self. So rediscovery, renewal, understanding yourself in new ways, new possibilities for who you can be and how you can show up. And Neptune in Aries says, here's the dream, right? Here's the dream. We are just at the very, very beginning. We are brand new babies, dipping our toes in the water of the dream that we imagine for ourselves. And Saturn, the Saturn conjunction, almost conjunction with Neptune, says you can have that dream, but you have to work for it. It's not going to come easily. And Saturn is showing us right now where the work is to be done. So, what is emerging in personal and collective consciousness is saying, here is what has not been completed. Here is where you are being invited to do what work is needed to fulfill the promise of the dream of the future. So as things emerge and feel challenging and, might feel overwhelming sometimes in terms of what is unfolding in the realities around us, we have to remember that all of this is an invitation to step up into the very best version of ourselves. And what does that look like? How can we show up in our authentic truth to make a contribution? And now I'm going to come back to that Cancer, that Jupiter in Cancer energy, and just bring in this piece that says, how are you going to expand into what that caring can look like? And that means being creative, thinking creatively, finding those possibilities that didn't notice were even there before. Maybe they were there all along, but you couldn't see them. So putting in the work that happens on all levels, it requires, just like we talk about balance and all the signs and elements of the zodiac, right? You need the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional, all the dimensions of life to do this work. So some of the work is done by the actions, the things we do, the courage we find to show up and speak up and make noise about something or move it forward or just do something. But we also need the balance of the earth energy, which is remembering, to take care of our bodies, and what kinds of structures do we need, and how do we stay grounded, and what does that look like as we create new new systems or imagine new systems. We need the emotional work. Very, very important, right? Healing the past, uh, addressing our traumas from the past, feeling the feelings we need to feel so that we can, again, clear that stuff and leave it behind and be ready for something new. Just like when you take a shower, you just wash away the old, make yourself fresh and ready for something new. And then we have, of course, the mental as well. And so ideas and how solutions, right? How we need to think about problems, how the words we use, the language we use to communicate our fears, our concerns, our brainstorming, our, creative thinking and talking something through with a friend. So we need all of the dimensions to do this work. And this upcoming eclipse reminds us that when we do that work, when we put in that effort, we are creating the space for the dream to emerge in this rebirth phase. So it's a process, it's a long process, but this eclipse brings in an opportunity to notice where you are leaving something behind, where you are ready to step into something new, and where you are opening your heart to what that might look like, not being attached to the past, right? Pluto in Aquarius reminds us that the solutions do not lie in the past. You will not find the solutions to the problems we face right now in something that has gone before, because the solutions are what we are here to discover. They are new inventions, they are innovations, they are new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. They are creative, and they call on us to stretch our minds and our psyches into new possibilities and to allow ourselves to change in the ways we need to change to step into those new problem solving possibilities. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Marina Orms. You can book a reading with me at astrologyheals.com. And just as a reminder, my prices will be increasing soon. So this is a perfect time to get some insight into this eclipse and what is unfolding for you, how it's activating your chart, and what to how to think about this moment in time for yourself personally. So astrologyheals.com, you can book some time with me. Even if you get an appointment after the eclipse, still be super valuable. This eclipse energy will go on for weeks, if not months. So highly recommend that. Thanks for being here and hitting the subscribe button. If you are enjoying these videos, I am here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care, and I will be here all this week talking about the upcoming eclipse. So check back, and I will see you next time.